for writing, you know. You just want to see pictures and nice videos. But there is something that we have to consider when we're doing our composting. You know what we have to consider? Our browns and our greens. So you're going to ask yourself, what are our browns and what are our greens? Our brown is anything that is outside. So for example, you ever go outside and you realize that the grass gets brown, or you realize that you chop out some weeds and it is brown, or you ever realize when you have your vegetables, they are green. Your manure is also considered green. Now, your browns are like these are things that the microbes want. You remember we said that the microbes are very important. They're gonna work and break down the compost. Your browns are like your grow food. I'm sure Miss Teacher, you guys are in 46. So Mitch will teach you about your grow food. You're talking about your carbohydrate and your starch, your yam, your banana, your dumpling, your rice, that give you your energy, your glucose that you get when you're going sports day. That is our browns here in composting. Our browns are grow food. So our microbes need the brown to what? To be able to have enough energy to do what they need to do. But then our greens is like our protein. Because when mommy and daddy cook, we don't want only rice alone or yam and banana alone. We want meat too. We want chicken. We want beef. We want goat. We want pork. We want fish. We want our meat. And the greens is the meat. So we need, the microbes want the meat too. They don't only want to feel strong. They want the meat. So just like how when mommy and daddy showed your feed, they say, mommy, I want more chicken with more gravy. The microbes require both the grow food and they require the meat as well. But guess what? They require one more than the other. And I'm going to ask this question and I want you to put it in the chat. Which one do you have more in your plate? The grow food, which is the yam, banana, and dumpling, or the meat? Which one is always in a greater proportion, or you have more of it in the plate when mommy and daddy share out the food for you? So I'm going to give you guys 15 seconds to give me a response in the chat.
Right,
when mommy and daddy share.
So far, persons are saying meat. So Keisha's saying meat, Kayla saying meat, Shamir says grow food. Ricadia says both because this is balance. Kalisa says meat. Rosal Primary says growth.
All right. So good. So you know what it is saying to me? It is saying to me that some of you guys love your meat more than the food. You don't want more meat than food. And that is totally fine. But you know, sometimes when we share it out, you always have a bit more of the rice and a bit more of the yam and banana than we have of the meat. And that's why sometimes, we get plenty gravy so that we can eat with the grow food. So in the case of the microbes for composting, they require, my apologies, they require much more of the browns, which is the grow food. The microbes require much more of the browns than the greens, which is the meat. And remember, I'm doing this analogy for you guys to understand. So how much do you want? You want at least 4 parts of the brown to 1 part of the green. What do I mean by that? Let me see if I have something I can show you. If I have this container here, right? And I am going to make my compost. I want to make sure that I have 4 full containers of brown and 1 container of green. Let me say it again. The microbes prefer more brown than green, but they need both to do what they need to do. So you need 4 of the browns, and when we say 4 parts, we mean 4 of this fill. So I'm going to fill this with brown, or if you have a bucket at home, you fill this with brown, you throw it out. Then you come again, fill with brown, throw it out. We had 2. We'll come again, fill with brown, throw it out. We had 3. Fill with brown, throw it out. We had 4. Good. We're there. Then now our greens. Fill with our greens, throw it out. And then we have a very important mixing process that I'm going to speak about. So here on the chart, we have some materials, right? And I'm going to ask you some questions now. If you have sawdust, would you consider sawdust to be your brown or your green? So I want some answers now. Sawdust, brown or green?
So persons are saying brown. Ricadia says brown. Shamir says brown. Felicia says brown.
All right, nice, Ricadia. And the rest?
Shane says brown. Charnel, Angela, Keisha, brown.
Excellent. So everybody's on the ball. When we have our sawdust that is brown, and guess what? I'm going to add a little thing here. You know, sometimes we're composting things and they're very wet. How many of you guys ever see vegetables spoil in the fridge? And when you take up the bag out of the fridge, you say, Mommy, Daddy, the vegetables have a lot of water and it leaking in the bag. If you have too much water, you're not going to get heat. Don't sometimes when you're hot, you go and bathe to cool down. So sometimes you want to add some of these materials, such as our sawdust. And we call those the bulking material. You know what the sawdust does? It absorbs the excess moisture. So anytime we're working with something that have a lot of moisture, you can always add some sawdust to kind of take out that moisture so that you get a little heat. But you guys are correct and on the ball, which is that our sawdust is our brown. All right. What about our corn stalk? Is our corn stalk, you know, we harvest our corn cob now, you know, and we have the stalk in the field for a while. And then we harvest the corn stalk. Is that brown or is it green? Tell me, what do you think it is?
And so far we're seeing green. Shamir, Arcadia, green.
All right, guys, very good.
Brandon, green.
All
Isha,
right.
green. Angela says brown. Duchesne says green. China says green. That's mostly green. Felicia, green.
All right, so most persons saying green.
Right.
And you guys are both correct. You are not wrong. But guess what? When it is growing, it is going to be green because, you know, it have a lot of nitrogen and, you know, it's going to be green and healthy. But when it starts to break down after we have picked the corn, it starts to get brown because it's dying. And you know what that means? It means that it's going to have more what? More carbon, more brown inside there. And so after we have harvested, the corn is more of a brown. If we leave it there and it gets brown. Anybody ever leave something in the garden after you pick it, or you have something there put on for a while and it moves from green color to brown? Right. So a lot of just put it this way, it's almost like when you're eating your food and you get your rice and you get your chicken and you eat out all of the chicken and you left the rice, you left the brown, you've left the grow food. It's the same thing happening when you have harvested the corn. The corn now is left and it is now what? Brown. All right. So corn that has been harvested and in the field for a while can be brown. You see all of them grass there that you see growing wild and tall. When you chop those grass and you leave them there for a while, they become brown. What about our grass? What would you say our grass is? Or green grass and our vegetables. What would you characterize that as? Green or browns?
So we're seeing green.
Green. Excellent. And you guys are correct. It is green. So I was just doing that little quiz and most of you guys, well, all of you guys are on the ball as a matter of fact. So a round of applause for everyone that participated, right? And that gave their answers. And even those that have the answers in their mind, but those also a little bit shy to say something. So our wood chips are brown, our table scraps are green, or dry grass is brown, or shredded paper, because newspapers, you know, and paper and cardboard can be composted, yes? Because those things come from what? From trees, from living organisms. And so they can break down. So our papers and our newspapers are brown, right? Carbon, brown, strength, or leaves, if they're not green, are brown, or grass clippings or fresh grass clippings, when we just trim the grass and it's green, that is what? Nitrogen, protein. Or fruits and vegetables, protein, good nitrogen source, right? Or flowers, cuttings, green. Or chicken manure, or any manure at all, anything that the animal excretes, that is what? Green, right? So all the doo that the animals excrete, good green material. All right. So there's a little video that I have here. I'm going to try and share this video on what this word here, substrates, it just means material. So you see all of these things that we just went through a while ago, guys, grass, pruning, paper, sawdust, all of those things, right, are what we call substrates or materials that we're going to use in our compost. And so I'm going to share a video with you so that you can look at how they look. Now the video does have sound, but I prefer to explain while the video is going on. So I'm going to mute the sound for the purpose of this video, and I'm going to explain to you guys. All right, so just give me a few there. Let me just grab the video, and you guys are going to tell me if you are seeing the video, right? So I'm going to share my screen again. So are you guys seeing the still image of the video? Yes? No?
We're seeing it.
All right, so you're seeing it. So I'm going to play it, and I'm going to ask you if you're seeing the video moving. Are we seeing the video moving?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to explain a little bit in the video. So there are a few things that we have there in the video, and you're seeing it at the side, right? And the things that we have there, the first material that we have there, guys, is our dried grass. So you're looking at this grass that I have in my hand. Don't it look brown? And that we have here is our sawdust. Aren't those two materials brown? And would you characterize that as your growthing, what the microbes would require to grow, just like our yam and banana? Yes or no?
The persons are saying yes.
All right. And what we have there, that brown thing, even though it looks dark, that is manure. And that represents our green, right? Now, just showing you, because a lot of the things that the video is saying, I would have mentioned it, and I also want to break it down a bit simpler, which is why I'm not allowing it to play. So this is our sawdust here that we're seeing right here, or brown material. So when we go to the wood shop, for those of us who ever went to the wood shop or where furniture is made, all of that little excess flying off from the wood, that's what we call our sawdust, right? And that is just a gist of some of the materials that we have, right? So I'm going to play the volume here because I want to show you the different types of compost bins. All right. So I just want to explain this a bit more simpler. So here we have our rotary drum. That's what you're seeing here. I remember I spoke about the drum that mommy and daddy get from foreign sometimes. And the drum has holes inside to drain out all of the moisture. Because, you know, we have to turn our compost pile, you know, sometimes. Because what will happen is that it will just form on top of each other, and then you will have what? Some moisture built up and it smells bad. So we don't want that. So we want to aerate it by turning it. Now, when we look at this drum here, you're seeing some little things inside. You see these little iron things that you're seeing inside? They're going to mix whatever you put inside. So you see all those browns and greens. You remember we said 4 parts of the brown to 1 part of the green. When you mix that together, this little iron thing is going to be important in mixing it together. Now, the next thing as well is that if you look here, I am pointing at the same drum. But if you realize this drum is standing upright, it doesn't have anything to agitate. What it does have though is holes. Holes to allow what? The material inside to breathe. Just like how when sometimes you say you want to go out and get some fresh air, the microbes that are doing the work, they want to breathe too. They want fresh air as well. And they don't want too much water. You know, sometimes mommy and daddy say, drink some water. And you say, mommy, I don't want any more water. My belly is full. All that excess water, the microbes don't want it either. And so it has to come out of the holes, right? And this also can be used for composting when you mix the materials together.